Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we are now about to start our second panel where we will speak about one of the most important revolution that we are facing right now, which is the transportation and mobility revolution. Our previous panelists just spoke about it and saying that is really one of the trend which is the most changing and our everyday life. So we will now embark you for a special journey with all the leaders and actors that are transforming our relation with mobility and space. And we will see also how a country like Israel, the country of innovation, is handling this future of mobility. And if I may allow my friend, there is a lot of work to do when I see the difficulties and the traffic in Israel today. So if you don't mind, excuse me. Yes, thank you very much. I will really appreciate if you, before I call my first participants, if we could be silent. So thank you very much for your understanding. So to start with, I would like to welcome one of the main actors of the mobility revolution. And it's my pleasure to welcome for this opening remark, Yossi Daskal, CEO of Bombardier Israel. Welcome, Mr. Daskal. Just a few words saying that Bombardier is really one of the major and leading actors of transportation and one of the world's leading manufacturers of both plane and trains. I know you are very much involved also in Israel, and it is very important for us to know how a huge company like yours, with a lot of employees, are dealing and is dealing with innovation, and how can you transform all this question of mobility also in a country like Israel. Thank you very much to be with us. It's a great honor for us.
Thank you. So, shalom to everyone. Very crowded, less than in the trains. Any case, my CCR, that is mine here on the slide, is since it's a North American company, it's immediately a chief. So we are chief country representative. And all the activity of Bombardier here in Israel is crossing through our office or company here in Israel, Bombardier Israel. We are very active in the last 15 years here in the market, especially in the rail market, but also active in aircraft. And as it mentioned, they are really real, also in innovation, of course. There are real pioneers in innovation, also in the field of aircraft and also in the field of rails. We have something about 62 manufacturers around the world and around 70,000 employees. So we have also a very big base for the data that I want to put some points out from this huge data that is on this subject and mainly focus on the rail business of Bombardier. So when we talk about mobility revolution, like it's the head of this session, it's a little bit revolution when you talk with a conservative transportation rail. It's almost like you hitting the image of this rail industry. But you can see here in the slide very clearly that the revolution started in this rail transportation many years ago. And when it was still traffic jams of horses in Piccadilly in London, they decided immediately that it could not be so crowded on the road, and they go down under the road, and they built up the tube in London. 3 years ago, they celebrate 150 years since the tube is running under the road. It's the same few years later in New York, as you see, was also a subway built up. And the tram in Wien, they understand that maybe under road is not a perfect solution, so they build it over the road. And who is visit today in Wien still sees the infrastructure that was built up by Kaiser Franz Joseph. and it's still under the use of the light train that is running today in Wien. Any case, road, under the road, over the road, you can see it's more than 150 years running. The same thing is we're talking today about electric cars. So the first electric locomotive was announced by Kaiser Wilhelm II in the beginning of the 20th century. And if you visit in the Technical Museum in Berlin, you can see a letter that is sent out why it's important to go in rail transportation in electrification. And you can have all the arguments that are very, very relevant today. Unfortunately, in Israel, we don't have today electric locomotive. Hopefully, it will happen next year. And you can see the difference between what was in innovation more than 100 years ago in the electric field. What we talk today about cars, electric cars, railways are much more innovated and forward before the cars. Today, the fast train running 380 kilometers. It's a conventional train. You can find it in a unique train like a Maghreb train, magnetic levitation train that is running 500 kilometers per hour, but it's a very problematic train. Something about 1 kilometer of infrastructure cost about $100 million. And this is the reason why they have very short area. And something about every 20 kilometers for this train, you need a power station. So this is the reason why we have it only in China and tried to build it up a few years ago and also in Germany. But since it doesn't seem to be convenient to use such power, this is a way that is still under let's say, estimate if this innovation will lead really to a change in mass transit facilities. Any case, again, something that I am not sure that it will be in the category of trains. The Hyperloop is today talking about some capsules that will run in a pipe in 1,200 kilometers per hour. And this is a kind of science fiction in this moment, but people are working on a pilot that is running in the United States. And again, this capsule can move 30, 40 people, of course, very close to the aircraft and the other things that are in the market. Here you can see research that was done by the United Nations and was published in 2010. And you see very clearly that rail industry or rail transportation is growing since the 70s of the last century until today. And the trade in this direction is continuing even today, 6 years after the publish of this research. You can see even that flights are going lower. And you can see the bus and the big fight against the private car that are the main fights that public transportation is running around the urban areas. It will change very drastically, especially in the United States. Since 2008, since Obama arrived to be the president in the United States, there is a huge revolution that is going on in the building up the infrastructure. Until today, in the United States, you cannot run with a train over 200 kilometers per hour, and mostly very old infrastructure for passengers. And now, all over the state, hundreds of projects that create a situation that in 2020, people can run in the United States with a speed of 380 kilometers per hour, over many, many cities, and of course, it will be also replacing many flights, because from a train you go out from a center of the city, arrive to the center of the city, and you don't need this 2 hours before the flight. The flight is going out from out the city. You have to go out to an airport out city, arriving to the other city out of the city, and it's saving a lot of time when you will have a real effective rail transportation. Another, let's say, direction that we can find, it's again based on many research, that the urbanization is becoming different. If you are looking in the beginning of the 2000s or in the beginning of the 70s, in the 20th century, you can see that urbanization was something about 30% of the population. And in 10 years, we will have that about 70% of the population will live in urban. And if you take these two pictures that you can see here on the right, you see it's not 10 years ago. It's today in the morning, on tomorrow in the morning. This is the way that people arrive to the city in India, in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, and this is a normal train that you can take a picture every day in these days. This is the way that they are going to the big cities in their area. And from the other side, in the left side, you see a picture in the rush hour in Los Angeles. Everyone with his car moving in 10 different ways on the highway, and moving something about 5 kilometers per hour, 6 kilometers per hour, and this is the situation. Of course, it's a big challenge how to handle this and how to improve it. And all the innovation, since railways are very complicated and including very a huge range of different parts of, let's say, innovation. It could be in the electronic, it could be in the traditional industry, it could be in the way of information to the passenger. So a lot of innovation was done in this direction to improve this rail. And here we can see the range of different kinds when we divide it in speed and, of course, in capacity. Since in a normal, even in Tel Aviv, if we take, we have something about 1.5 million trips that are done in the area of Tel Aviv in 24 hours. Only in our Netivei alone, you can find 800,000 cars that crossing Tel Aviv every day. And this is, of course, a question. If you want to give the possibility not to be at the highways in the United States and move 5 kilometers, 7 kilometers per hour, you have to prepare the infrastructure for different kinds of elements. And the capacity is a big question in the field of the innovation in rail industry. And you can see the different other transportation things, from the bicycles that you can move with one people, and until the heavy trains that you have around you that you can move around 1,200 and 1,500 people with a heavy train. There is a way that you checking it, or check it again with many research, is taking people from one place to another place in an urban area in 1 hour. And then you see private cars are around 2,000 people that can move in this way. Private car, 2,000 people when you have 4 people in a car. But it's very special to find 4 people in the car that coming in the city. Mostly it is 1 people. Then you have the buses that arriving around, can move around 9,000 people. If you take the average of a bus, 50 people, or double bus is 120 people. Then you have the trams. Trams is something around 250 people that can be in one train. And trams, it's a way of the light rail. We have a new modern monorail that can move today about 40,000 people in 1 hour. And of course, the metro that can move about 50,000 people per hour. And if you have heavy train, it's something about 80,000 people per hour that you can move in this way. So it's a very clear issue. If you have such amount of people that have to come in a city, the best way is to think about the capacity and, of course, for the speed of the people that coming in the city. When we are talking about innovation, this is today how it's look a center of control and communication of trains. And the possibility today, we are talking about autonomic cars that's running around. Let's say something in the last 20 years, almost 20 years, we have trains that this control center could move them without drivers. Monorail is without driver, modern metro is without drivers, and without drivers, it's mean fully automatic running. Without drivers is without union, and it is without problems that the driver want to design how the next train will be looked. Any case, this is a very modern situation in the train. I will run fast a little bit and show you two systems that are very popular in the last days. Monorail, as I mentioned, very proud places are using today the monorail. It's running very fast, and as I mentioned, 40,000 people for the Olympic Games and for the Mondial, they use it in Brazil. And we have also Primove systems. This is a system that is a wireless charging that is done in buses, rail, light train, and of course saving all the net of cable in head of the cars. Another thing also in infrastructure, we have huge involvement and huge development. You can find a machine that is running 20-meter digging a day, and this 20-meter is also ever covered. It's together with the cover of the tunnel, and it's creating every day, can create 25 meters of a tunnel that will be used by the trains. These are the three parameters that bring people to leave the car and go over to the train or public transportation. And you can see it, it's much more, let's say, saving time, it's much more safety, and of course, it gives you a better situation to run and to arrive to your place. As we have this model that you can go out from your home, walk at a distance, take one of the possibility of the public transportation, and arrive to your place that you want to arrive to work or pleasure or other things. And it's including everything again. You have to come to the station and have all the possibilities under the road, over the road, light train, and all the others. What's the future innovation in rail transportation will help us in the future? Less road accident. If we take only in Israel railways between 2010 to 2016, not even one passenger was hit during his running with the train. And if you take the car accident, over 1,600 people were killed in car accident in these 6 years here in Israel. So, and if you take it more to Europe, you take metro in Paris, it's over 40 years that even not one passenger was hit from the metro. Of course, I don't take in care the suicide and the others. Energy cost, of course, instead of 600 cars, one coach is doing the job better. Pollution, that is a very hard problem in the urban. Traffic jams, and of course, standard of living. When you have a car that can run all over the public transportation in the urban area, and the car costs you 50 or 500 shekel if we talk in Hebrew, and if you need your partner and you and your wife and you to arrive to work and you need 2 cars, it costs you 6,000 shekels. Of course, it's improving your standard of living. Hopefully, in the panel, we can continue some issues that are very relevant to Israel. Thank you.